All right, okay, now we're live. Welcome everyone. So glad you're here. If you're watching the replay, welcome to you as well. Tina and I are glad to be with you in the virtual sense. And we're learning during COVID that being together over Zoom, that it can still be a sacred space to come together in. So we're here with life coach Tina Adams, and she's coming to us live from Utah. Welcome, Tina.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And you and I both are moms, and my daughter loves the show. She has so many loves, but one that she loves a lot is Boss Baby. I know your son is older because she's 5. I think your son's 9. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the show that what's a favorite show of his?
He's been watching Gravity Falls on Netflix lately. He's pretty into that.
Ooh, I assume astronauts or aliens? What is that about?
It's kind of an odd show. I haven't watched a whole lot of it, but it's kind of like a strange town with weird stuff having to do with gravity and like anomalies and just like mystery kind of stuff.
Is it animated?
Yes.
Nice. I'm kind of looking forward to I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say I'm looking forward to, because I should be present. We haven't reached the phase yet where we're not watching anything with her that she wants to watch something that's not animated. So it'll be interesting. I don't know when that occurs, that they make that switch, but it'll be interesting when that happens and we move away from cartoons.
Yeah.
And speaking of your son, how would you say he finds his energy? Is he more an introvert? Does he find fuel as an extrovert? What are your thoughts on him so far?
It's been a little hard to pinpoint because he is kind of like, he definitely wants to be with people all the time, but not necessarily big groups of people. Yeah, he's a super like sensitive, like always wants to be connected with people, but also needs his time to recharge. So he might have a little bit of both.
Yeah. Like an amnivert, is that the right label?
Mm-hmm.
I think I said it wrong. Ambivert with a B.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ambivert. Yes. Yes, I'm so excited to dive into this topic tonight, because my husband, as we were sharing before we went live, my husband is an introvert and I am an extrovert. And he always, when we first got together a decade ago, he would correct me and he would say, sometimes you make us introverts sound like we're hermits, and we're not hermits. His exact words were, we have wolf packs like you do, but our wolf packs are just smaller. Would you agree to that?
That's been true for me. Like, I definitely still need people and want to connect to people, and but I do much better in one-on-one settings or small group settings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as we, for our friends that are watching this on their phones or computers, as Tina is about to dive into these tips for introverts to own their power, which is a great passion of hers as a life coach, feel free to put in comments, questions, gifs, memes, aha moments, whatever. Put it in the comments, tag her or me, and we will get to them at the end. We can answer any questions, or if you're watching this later, you can still ask questions and we will get back to you later as well. As aforementioned, she is a life coach. She and her husband both are. You can find out more about their work. They do events and retreats, and they do single session coaching. And then you don't do relationship coaching like him, right? Am I right? And I noticed your website is getting a nice facelift or upgrade.
Yes.
That's so if people can connect with you and the work that you're doing there. And I know at the end you'll share some more steps with us. So, but without further ado, I'm excited to learn from you so I can love my husband better and love other introverts better. But what are some tips you have for us to help introverts own their power?
Okay, some tips. First of all, I'll be speaking to introverts, but more specifically to like the quiet ones. So I have always been just really shy, really quiet, sensitive, soft-spoken, and I just and I knew. So I grew up with an aunt who was really into like the Myers-Briggs personality stuff. So I knew from a young age that I was an introvert, and I knew what that was. Um, well, I thought I knew what it was, because it wasn't until I was like in college, I think, that I realized that being shy and being introverted were two different things. And not all introverts are shy by any means. And I just realized that I had both of those things. And the introversion is not something that needs to be fixed or worked on, but maybe the shyness is something that I can work to overcome and just learn how to function better with that in my life. So these tips are especially for the quiet ones, but I think maybe everybody's got a little bit of quiet in them. So hopefully you can find something in it that's helpful to you, whether you're an introvert or not. So the first one is just to own your quiet and accept who you are, and realize that we live kind of in an introverted world, at least in America. There's a book by Susan Cain called Quiet. I'm trying to remember the subtitle. The Power of Introverts in a World That Won't Stop Talking, I think. And so we live in this world that's kind of geared toward extroverts in a lot of ways. So one of the first steps is just to realize that maybe sometimes the way the world functions is not supportive to who you are. And that doesn't mean that anything's wrong with you. It just, like, it's a chance to accept that you're different and accept that maybe the world doesn't know how to support you yet. So accept that you are quiet and see it not as a weakness, but realize that there are strengths in there. And as you give yourself permission to accept who you are and the way you are, and then honor those needs, that's going to help it not be a weakness, because I don't think that introversion is a weakness in any way unless we let it be. So that's tip number one.
Wow, I was checking my phone to make sure that the stream had made it where it needed to make for our viewers, and so I apologize for not maintaining eye contact with you. You said something that jumped out at me, and that is that I needed to learn, which is not all introverts are shy. And that was, so am I close to being right in my assumption that means they find fuel from being alone, but when they're in social settings, they are talking a lot. Is that right, or is there more? It sounds like there's more to it.
And I think a lot of people define introvert differently. Okay. But I think, like you said, one of the most reliable, at least as far as I've discovered, one of the more reliable definitions is just, where do you get your energy? Because I can be in a group of people and I can get up on a stage and speak if I have to, or I can be at a party and even enjoy myself and engage at times. But then I'm just like drained and done and like, okay, I'm gonna go sleep for a week and or just like not be around people for a while. And so it's not necessarily that we can't do some of the same things, but some people, like extroverts, go to a party and they leave and they're ready to go to another party, and that was awesome, and let's keep going. And yeah. Well,
That's so great. We to our 4 viewers that are with us now, go ahead and put in the comments which one do you feel you identify with the most of the time to be safe. Introvert or extrovert or ambivert. Did I say it right?
Mhm.
Okay, awesome. So after we own as introverts, we take your first step to heart to own our quietness, to love our quietness. Is that the words you used?
Something like that.
Like that. It was so good. Ooh, I'm excited for tip number 2.
Okay, so tip number 2 is remember that it's okay to make noise. And that is both a literal thing, like it's okay to speak up, it's okay to have needs. I think sometimes when you're the quiet one, you learn to just kind of fade away into the background and feel like only the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And if you don't want to have to be the noisy one, then you feel like you're just not going to get your needs met. So for me, it's been important to realize that I do actually have needs and that that's okay. And that I don't have to yell or make a scene or be the one who's in a crisis or who's the loudest. I can just simply make an empowered request and still find ways to get my needs met. And then also, aside from the literal, just the sense of it's okay to make noise, it's okay to be messy, it's okay to make mistakes in life, it's okay. And I don't know if perfectionism goes along with, I mean, I think plenty of extroverts can be perfectionists too, but I think for me, being this like quiet, I don't want to make waves, I don't want to rock the boat, I don't want to do anything wrong that's going to that people will see as inappropriate or whatever. So it's okay to make noise. It's okay to speak up for yourself. It's okay to make messes and make mistakes. And that is tip number 2.
I am curious if when you were getting over that hump or having that breakthrough of starting to speak up more, was there a phrase that felt comfortable for you to say? I bring that up because it was done similarly. I felt discomfort with in moments of intense or tense conversations and meetings years ago, and not that long ago, but years ago. And what helped me speak into moments of tension at first was, I'm so sorry. Hey, baby, let's not play fetch right now. Can you take? I'm not living. Okay. What helped me get over that hump was the phrase, I hear where you're coming from, and I also want to add, or I'm really not comfortable with that because, so I'm curious if if you had a line that helped you, that, I don't, am I making any sense?
Yeah, makes total sense. And that's a great line. I have not personally had a line that I've specifically used. But I was just thinking of an experience where I was at a restaurant with my mom and we were having a conversation, and the conversation turned toward a more deep or serious subject. And I just realized in the moment that I realized I was kind of holding back, and got curious and thought, why am I not wanting to speak up here? And I realized it was because we were so close to the people next to us, and I didn't feel comfortable talking about that topic in that setting. And I realized in the past, it was like, how many times have I been in a similar situation and just kind of danced around the issue or not quite spoken up fully? And that day, with that realization, I was able to say, oh, I don't feel comfortable talking about this specific topic in this location. Can we do it at a different time or in a different place? And that was huge for me.
That sounds like that would be huge for anyone. That's amazing courage and strength. and also not easy to do, but doable. I can,
Right.
that's really helpful advice. So I believe Melody in the comments, Melody saying, I love that title. Oh, she says, oh yes, it makes me think that she's empathizing as being an introvert. I don't know, Jed, how you would identify yourself. But as they share in the comments, if I'm reading their comments right, what is our third tip for introverts to own their power?
Okay, the third tip is to find your authentic voice and your authentic volume, because it's going to be different for every person. There are introverts, there are extroverts, there are ambiverts, and even within there's so much variation. I'm in some Facebook groups for introverts, and I relate so much to some of them, and some of them it's like, how can we fit in the same group because we're so different? And just remembering that we're all individuals and we all get to play around with what works for us, and don't look out to what other people are doing or how they're doing it, but trust yourself to find what works for you, to find what's your level of pushing yourself to be out there and to be social, and how much quiet time do you need, and not judging that, but just accepting this is what I need, this is what will fuel my soul and keep me rested and grounded and centered, and honoring that and not comparing it to what other people are doing. There are some people that can just go, 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 and that feeds them and fuels them and energizes them. And I am so not that way. So if I try to do that, I'm going to burn out. Or if I compare myself to that, I'm going to feel inadequate. But the truth is we're just different. So just learn what works for you and what you need and honor that.
Do you think that there are certain skills or traits or passions that we wrongfully assume or wrongfully say this is an extrovert type of skill or this is an introvert type of hobby? Do you think that we wrongfully label those sorts of things, or have you ever experienced that?
I think that can definitely happen. And I've noticed some conversations in some of the introvert groups around, a lot of times we think that there are certain things that we can't do because it's an extroverted activity. And really, maybe it's just an activity that scares everybody. Like extroverts can be terrified of public speaking. Extroverts can be terrified of doing Facebook Lives or whatever the activities are. And it's not necessarily like, oh, just because they're extroverted and they like to talk more, they're naturally going to be amazing at this and have no fear. And so I think sometimes you have to be careful of definitely of labeling this is an extrovert thing, this is an introvert thing, and I can't do that, because that's just not true. And so just lost my train of thought, but yeah, I think
that is so affirming. And I had to put my foot in my mouth last week on our podcast, The Listening Chair. We were interviewing a librarian because we're all about the spiritual undertones of all career types. So I said to the librarian that libraries are my second home, but I could never be a librarian because I am such an intense, extreme extrovert. And she corrected me and she said, oh, that is a big mistake to think that a librarian is an introverted, isolated type of work, because the best librarians are having lots of conversations with the students or with the patrons or what citizens of the town, trying to match their needs and their quandaries with the right book, the right author. And she says there's really not a lot of clerical work that I do. That's other members of the team. But as a main librarian, I have conversations nonstop all day. And I was like, oh, so I was glad that I was corrected. And I know there are times I've said dumb things. There are lots of times I've said dumb things. Like, I'm surprised I left the journal and write so much as an extreme extrovert. Like, that's a very ignorant thing. And you hit the nail on the head when you said, at least I empathize, and it landed well with me. when you said that there are lots of extroverts that are nervous to speak, and I have this weird fear, and I know you and we met in an online course, Project Shift, and we got to do lots of fun work around our greatest fears. And my as this year, one of my greatest fears is guesting on podcast. Even though I host a podcast, even though I have spoken to large crowds and love to do it, for some reason, when I'm in a guest chair on a show, I am so nervous and uncomfortable, and I'm still working through it. And even though, obviously, as I'm rambling, I am an extrovert, for some reason that causes me so much nerves. And we've interviewed lots of introverts on our show that are, to no surprise, amazing and concise and have such brevity to what they say, and it's beautiful, and they don't seem to have any nerves. So I'm working on that as an extrovert. I'm really glad you pointed that out. So moving forward, people that want to connect with you and stay in touch with the work that you do, you have this awesome course that you built, and I hope that it's offered again sometime soon. It has a powerful title. I think the title was Quiet Women in the title.
So it's called Embrace Your Quiet Superpowers, and I'm just launching it again next month, September. So we're actually just still beta testing. So I'm actually going to offer it for free in exchange for feedback for the content. And then if people want to add on a weekly call for a discounted cost, then that's an option too. So probably the best way, you can either friend me, message me on Facebook, and then there's also a Facebook group called Embrace Your Quiet Superpowers, and you can join that, and I'll be sending more information and updates in there.
This is such an amazing opportunity to take it for free. That's in the beta. That's awesome. And so that'll be September, you said?
Yeah.
Awesome. So great. So I will put the link to your Facebook group below this video for people to join. And then you can, viewers, friends, feel free, please follow or friend her on Facebook so you can stay in touch with her and own your power as an introvert. And if you're like me and you're an obnoxiously high energy extrovert who wants to love the introvert in your life better, another good reason to follow Tina's work. Thank you so much for your time and wisdom tonight.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.